Hello and welcome to day 9 of Bondcember.
Today we are going to be covering the sole appearance by George Lazenby as James Bond. My name is Tom.
I'm Joe.
So yeah, this is a change of pace.
Movie.
This is a movie. It's a damn good. It's a change of pace, and it's sort of like, I suppose if we sort of compare this to the films that immediately bookend it, which are obviously on You Only Live Twice and what we'll be talking about tomorrow, Diamonds Are Forever, this is like, I can't even compare these films.
Yeah, this is like if you made James Bond like a genuine thriller, and it's like characters that make sense. Like you take the James Bond stakes and you put it in like a movie that could be up for an Oscar. And this is, I mean, maybe that's overstating it, but it is something special.
Yeah, it's on another level compared to, I mean, up till this point, I think Goldfinger has been this is like 2-3 times better than Goldfinger. And it's a shame because this is obviously this is George Lazenby's only role as Bond. This is like one of his few film credits.
Yeah. He would eventually do voice acting. He would be a major character in Batman Beyond, of all things. There was a funny thing in the IMDb for like years. They had him as a voice actor in Yu Yu Hakusho, and it was just a credit. And I don't know why it's since been removed, but it was just sitting there. And this was the Wild West of the internet, the early internet movie database, where you could just put people in anything. Why? Because why not? And yeah, George Lazenby had like a few TV stuff. He was on. The only thing I've seen him in on TV was an episode of Master Ninja, which was another thing. Where the only white guy to become an American ninja goes on a road trip with this really annoying suburban American kid, and it was just one of the plots where George Lazenby holds everybody hostage. And it was another thing on Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's like, I used to be Bond, James Bond. Now I make movies, bad movies. And he was on this this PC game for the early 90s that had like a Spy Fox or something like that had this really generic name, and he was like touted as the biggest actor in it, and it wasn't. It was mostly these two dumbasses who get involved in this international plot, and it is one of the worst things I've ever played in my life. But George Lazenby is in it, and a lot of people on Her Majesty's Secret Service like went on to have like pretty meh careers, like director Peter Hunt. Like, I looked through his stuff, and like the notable thing I could find was The Wild Geese 2, which was The Wild Geese 1 was a extremely forgettable Roger Moore movie, which was only notable because it was on the commercial breaks of the Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh God!
And that's the tape everybody had of the Star Wars Christmas special, was the one that had the Wild Geese advertisement. So he did a sequel to a Roger Moore movie, and which its only notable thing is Patrick Stewart plays a Russian general. So, with all of this pedigree, quote unquote, you might not think this is like one of the top 5, if not top 2 Bond movies, but it is.
Because this is like, this is... So, I feel we need to sort of talk about where on earth Sean Connery went and how and why Lazenby sort of takes over the role. Sean Connery did not want to do another Bond film.
No, he had other interests. Like, I want to do something else, and I already have more money than God at this point, and I'm Sean Connery.
Yeah, I mean, we get a similar situation with a lot of the Bonds, because this is the first time we change actor with Bond. This happens again, and you sort of basically get, the actor gets tired of playing the role. I appreciate that sort of any actor does get tired of playing the role, and you obviously got, as we'll come on to speak when we talk about Daniel Craig and No Time to Die, and You know, the statement he made a couple of years ago saying, "I would rather slit my own wrists than play Bond again." And it's like, yeah, that's like, and you do see, you basically, with the changes of Bond, you do have a change of, as we'll come to speak about when obviously when we get to them. You know, a change in Bond means a change in tone.
Yeah. And Lazenby is it took me a little bit because I don't know, Lazenby has a thinner build than, I mean, Connery, and he, like, if you watch the movies back to back, it is just like he looks skinny even though he's not, but it's just like it's such weird because, but that's the point. It is a human James Bond, and that's kind of what Honor Majesty's Secret Service is. Like, there's the opening sequence where he meets, like, Tracy, the eventual love of his life, where she's trying to commit suicide, and he stops it. Then there are other people who are trying to kill her, and it's like, oh, well. And then he takes care of them, and then she runs off, and then he, like, looks at the camera and is like, this never happened to that other fella.
Yeah.
It's like they kind of have fun with it, and I cannot begin to tell you how many fan theories that line by itself has made, that James Bond is a code name, and then there's the 67 Casino Royale, which we've discussed, and no, I'm not. You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get a seat at this table, but.
But obviously Lazenby sort of comes to the role now. Lazenby, obviously, his background was not as an actor, he was a model, and if I remember correctly, he's actually Australian.
Mm-hmm.
He's Australian. He is obviously not only the only non-English actor, he's the only non-British actor. And his background is in modelling and advertisement, and he basically becomes best known for advertising something called Frey's chocolate bars, which I have no idea what they are, but they are apparently chocolate. And yeah, he kind of, his relationship with the role of Bond was interesting, I think is cool.
Yeah. Like, later on, he's like, I was the best Bond in the best Bond movie, and, you know, he, like, will cast ego and shade on everything else. But part of the reason he didn't get more James Bond films was his fault. Or at least his agent's fault, because his agent was big on, okay, this James Bond thing is on the way out, and there's going to be, like, counterculture movies like Easy Rider. These are the things that are coming up, and I don't understand how George Lazenby would fit in American counterculture movies.
Yeah.
Like, would he just be, a gang leader who just happens to be British and runs a... I can't imagine how this would work, and it didn't work for George Lazenby to be counterculture, because he kind of disappeared, and then he did TV and, voice work. And bad PC games for the rest of his life. So, from what I can understand, the movie made many times its budget back. It was the second biggest movie of the year, and apparently Lazenby was offered a 7-movie deal to be James Bond, but that didn't happen, mainly because of Lazenby. So, this wasn't entirely lazy. Oh, you're not Sean Connery, so we got to dump your ass.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it was, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But Lazenby kind of also screwed it up for himself, as much as him not being Sean Connery screwed it up.
Yeah, and I mean, Lazenby looks back upon like this, and like his relationship with the other actors who play Bond is kind of fascinating, because it's like he's obviously he had a long-term correspondence with Moore, who obviously replaces him, and his relationship to the role of Bond, he describes Bond like by the point the film premieres, he's grown a beard and he's saying Bond's a brute, and it's like, okay. You know, and it's a pity because it's like, you know, this you got to remember, this is a first time actor. This is a guy who has only acted in chocolate bar commercial, and it's like,
and he does really well with it.
Yeah,
but you know, we probably talked about all this. I mean, whenever he does get on camera, he does kind of take an adversarial tone, but he has had a lot of opinions a lot of time, but he does have this movie, which is pretty great, and it's great because the pieces connecting everything do feel like they fit. They aren't a clothesline, and mainly it's because we have Tracy, who is, you know, the Bond girl this time. I mean, there, you know, some other, but she is the Bond girl now and forever, and played by Tracy Rigg, who was on the Avengers, and she is just fantastic in the role. And you know, she is like Bond's match, and she is the daughter of this industrialist who business goes into the criminal, you know, underground, and at first it's kind of like, well, what are you doing with my daughter? And then it's just like, well, I kind of like her, and she's like, well, okay, welcome. And
welcome to the family.
Yeah, welcome to the family. And then, you know, he's still trying to track down Blofeld and Spectre, but they've kind of cooled on it because it's like, okay, we've been going at this for a while. It's time to take a break. We're taking off. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to talk to my new friends at the Criminal Underground, and we're going to get. So he uses the Criminal Underground with, you know, his possible future father-in-law's pull to, you know, investigate and figure out, do the legwork. And this all, I mean, it is obviously a movie script, so everything is too clean and neat, but it all fits so well, and all of the stuff works. It doesn't feel like we're biding our time for the real plot or the real, you know, set pieces or something like that.
No,
so
it feels more like, you know, the narrative. The thing is, I feel with a lot of the Bond films is that basically you have, you know, if we use the famous three-act structure, 2 acts of the usual Bond film is build up. It's like, oh, you know, it's not, you know, the oh, you know, resolution thing. It's build up to a climax. That's it. You know, you might get films. I think obviously Goldfinger is probably the film where you have a villain, you know, who is involved in the plot from the get go, and you know, basically causes that you know, the 3-act structure to happen organically, and it's like it's strangely refreshing to have this film that, you know, has its peaks and troughs, that has its quiet moments, and isn't just you know, an hour and a half of just of build up.
I mean, there is rarely a part in this movie where I feel like they aren't super concerned with it. I mean, there are some parts when they get into like the mountain hideaway, and you know, Bond's having like, you know, fun with the girls, but that, I mean, it's a necessary part. It's the light part of the movie.
Yeah, it's part for the course. It's like you expect it of a Bond film. It's part of the language of a Bond film.
Yeah, I mean, there's no part of this movie where it's like, oh, I can just put this on in the background while I'm doing something else.
No. And I feel part of that is due to Lazenby, but part of it is due to, you know, the way that this film goes about itself. It is, you know, you know, the film goes basically, you know, where is Blofeld? Okay, now there is a mystery that this individual who we think is Blofeld is trying to claim a title as a European count, and it's like, okay, Blofeld is in the Alps, obviously posing as this sort of introducing himself as this count. Okay, oh, he's got a clinic up there. Okay, what's the clinic doing? Okay, oh, the clinic is doing, you know, something related to allergies. Okay, oh, but Bond can't basically make Blofeld, and at all this point, Bond is basically passing himself off as a genealogist for the London College of Arms, up into and including, you know, this character basically voices. This is a really clever thing that they do. Is Bond is actually voiced by the actor who plays the actual genealogist for a decent
Sir Hilary Bray.
Yeah,
George Baker.
George Baker for like a good chunk of the film, and it's really well done. And it's like considering it's a late '60s film, the lip syncing is like, holy shit, this is really good.
Yeah, and a lot of this movie is holy shit, like how well they made it. And like when they get into the Alps, the movie is breathtaking. Like there are certain things like the ski chases for insurance reason they had to be shot on the green screen, and so there's obviously the cuts with the actors and the obviously stuntmen who are Olympic skiers, and they are doing quote unquote handheld footage with skiing. But these are handheld cameras in the 1960s. I guarantee you they are not handheld.
Yeah, and the bobsleigh sequence was just filmed basically is the big showdown with Blofeld. Is like this is really taut and really tense, and it's like it's nice to have tension in these films. You don't know if Bond is going to get out of this, in one piece.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then we get to like, they really liked using the location, and they used the hell out of it, which they got this restaurant that as long as they promised to finish it, they could shoot there. And then they, had all sorts of fun. They put the cameras anywhere, and they just had they had helicopters, they had money, and it shows because like there's just this, even a throwaway shot where Bond is opening a window and there's a helicopter flying by. That's the helicopter. That's the Alps. It's not an obvious 60s green screen, and it all looks amazing.
Yeah, you can go and visit Piz Gloria, which is the setting for this. You can go and visit it. You can go and have lunch at Piz Gloria.
Yeah,
because they took the name and kept it.
Yep, they had the movie studio paid for it, and then they got all the money from their publicity, and I don't blame them. It's
pretty damn good. But I feel the sort of the hidden gem of this film is Terry Savalas. Holy sh!
Telly Savalas. Okay.
Telly Savalas. Oh my god. Okay, we've had Blofeld in obviously the previous film, but like. Donald Pleasance, no offense, Terry Savalas is the Blofeld.
Yeah, Donald Pleasance is a presence, and he's Telly Savalas is the mastermind kind of Blofeld. That like, this is why he is in charge.
Yeah,
like he is a very intelligent, smart. I mean, he is egotistical, but they don't play him as Bond Shadow, but he's definitely Bond. A lot of this movie is Bond finding his match, like for whether it's Tracy, his ultimate love, or his ultimate villain Blofeld, and how he, is kind of a genius and figures these things out and has these plans, but he also has a certain bravado about him, and a certain grandiose aspect that is his weakness, but it works for the films. There are other James Bond movies where it's just why don't you shoot him, but you get why Blofeld Blofeld wants an audience. This Blofeld wants an audience, and he wants everybody to note him as a genius. And it also helps that this film actually low-key plays like possibly the most terrifying plot of any James Bond movie. There's nuclear war, there's Russia and America, and there's all of this stuff, and it feels above imagination for the longest time. And then there's just this one, which is just it's delivered small, but it is the cataclysmic destruction of all life on Earth. Apparently, I don't want to drop too many spoilers, but It's like, wow,
Wow.
that is actually...
Hmm.
You've been sitting on this plot this whole time? I mean, you didn't need to pull out a volcano for your shit. Just go with this. And just try...
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's just, the other thing about this film is the goddamn score. The score of this is
Yeah.
so it's the first score that sort of Barry goes, okay, you know, I have done 6 of these damn films. This is my 6th Bond film. I'm going to do something else, and it's this very aggressive, this very electronic soundtrack, and it's sort of, you know, it matches this sort of element of, you know, this is, you know, this is uncharted waters for Bond.
And like the music is so good, like they don't need a singer on it. Like the opening, you know, credit sequence normally has like a famous singer, and they do a few things and then leave. But this is just the score, and it's just like, you don't put words to this. This is already perfection.
Yeah, it's so good. It replaced they you know get the James Bond theme in like a lot of the action sequences and other. This replaces, you know, the iconic guitar-led Bond theme in the action sequences.
Mm-hmm.
And then you obviously have the actual song in this, which is Louis Armstrong's "We Have All the Time in the World," which I think is will obviously come right at the end of this month to. You know, our favourite Bond songs. This is incredible.
Yeah, it is a great Louis Armstrong. She's like one of the greatest artists in the world, doing a fantastic song with lyrics by Hal David, who was in the '67 Casino Royale and botched it up because everybody else botched it up. But here it's a wonderful, simple, fantastic song.
It is. It's just. So this is I thought almost need to sort of, you know, we need to talk about why this film didn't work, because it's like, you know, it made a hell of a lot of money, but it's sort of like this film did not get a particularly welcome reception, despite the fact possibly being, you know, in hindsight the best Bond film. You know, this regularly tops, you know, subsequent and it's sort of like there is this sort of idea of, you know, Lazenby, you know, because people often, when they sort of, you know, go through the quintessence, the actors who play Bond, Lazenby sometimes gets missed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is really sad, because it's like, you know, this is, you know, the Bond, a really good performance. There is a fun, you know, and perhaps I feel like this is the problem with Lazenby's performance is it's almost too human in places.
Yeah. There's a certain character to Bond that people in the 60s had that was just this attachment to it. It's and people still do have like this raging attachment to what Bond is and what Bond isn't. Like, casting Daniel Craig as a blonde James Bond, holy shit, some people rioted. But there's this unflappable thing where he is this, like I said earlier, that James Bond is an attitude, not an action character, from, you know, Roger Ebert's review of Quantum of Solace. And then there's like this, I mean, the people who lived in this world, their world was Sean Connery as James Bond, and that's the only world most of the time they accepted. And they kind of had to, they had so much Roger Moore that they kind of forced it, and it's like, okay, they had to even admit some of the movies were good. But especially people like Gene Siskel, where it's like, this guy's a clown. He literally dressed up as a clown in one of his movies. This guy is not James Bond. He does not. And that, I think that was some of the attitude, and you don't get until later some of that. Some of the, like, people who have been out of this world and who look back and like, wait, this is really good. In fact, it's fantastic. And there are people who knew it at the time, and then they this was their this became their life because they were the hipster who was like the one holding up on Her Majesty's Secret Service. I mean, there was like, oh, I have watched so many documentaries on this stuff that I forget, but there was a person who their entire life was involved collecting on Her Majesty's Secret Service memorabilia, and it wasn't George Lazenby. So it was the person who like, I knew this was a special movie from the moment I saw it, and I was attached to it, and other people weren't, and it kind of became the hipster James Bond movie, I guess. But that kind of is too rude for it because it is a fantastic, wonderful movie, and it's just that everything hits right. Like they have to have Diana Rigg. Nail it as James Bond's the love of James Bond life, and she absolutely does. She is an incredible person and an individual, and she, like when James Bond like is running from Spectre and being chased, and then runs into Tracy in the Olympic Village, where she happens to know because she wants to help. She's like, "Get into my car, I'm driving," and she helps, and she isn't useless. I mean, she eventually gets captured, but it's Blofeld has to set off an avalanche that would have killed everybody but James Bond just to make this happen. And she plays an active role in the climax of the film. And then you have Blofeld, who is just like, they have to have a guy who portrays this sense of megalomania and grandness, and that a villain has, and he absolutely does, while still being a person. And
certainly if you look at Craig's performance, which will obviously come on to much later, this is like almost, in hindsight, this is almost like a proto version of Craig. It's like, okay, this is a Bond for a modern age. This is Bond the man, not Bond, the seemingly unstoppable, almost sort of, Ubermensch. This is a man who gets hurt. This is a man who is vulnerable, a man who has connections to, the people around him, and is hurt and is damaged by, people affecting or damaging those. And it's sort of, it sort of, in hindsight, it does feel like, in terms of its spectacle, in terms of its villains, it does feel almost like a prototypal version of what Bond now is.
Yeah. And
which
then, select people try to make it happen. Like, we'll get to Spectre, which explains like how on paper something can be the best idea in the world, like having Daniel Craig do all of these like Bond movies, these classic Bond movies, and then make them serious. But you have to have the right people. And On Her Majesty's Secret Service absolutely has the right people, and I don't think Spectre does. But and then you have Christopher Nolan. Like, this is one of his favorite movies, and a lot of them are he is just trying to make On Her Majesty's Secret Service in like a lot of his bigger movies, or he is just trying to make a lot of his famous movies. Like, Interstellar was obviously trying to be 2001, but Inception, there were the mountain section solely because it was On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and he was trying to do that, but unfortunately he didn't have the action chops that they have in this movie. Like, this is why, there is a distinct difference between people who are good at doing a Bond movie are generally directors who don't do anything else, like Campbell, who did Goldeneye and the later Casino Royale. His record is spotty outside of it. His only big thing is fighting with, during the making of Green Lantern, and just being absolutely shit on in Deadpool by Ryan Reynolds.
Oh God!
So that is Campbell's reputation outside of doing Goldeneye and Casino Royale. And then you have people who have absolute sterling records and are, known as auteurs, and then they try to do James Bond and it just doesn't work, because like the handiwork isn't there. Like the editing in Inception just drives me batty because the costuming has everybody in the same white parkas, and it cuts around where you can't see people, where you can't see what they're doing, and so it's just like there's these two waves, which is like everybody wants Quentin Tarantino to do a Bond movie, and it's like, no, don't, because this is an entirely different kind of filmmaking. And obviously when you bring film criticism, it brings out the flaws like the inherent racism and sexism and colonialism and all that fun stuff, and that is right. You can absolutely bring that to the table, but that is not what is going on here.
Yeah, it's certainly the only director I can think of who's like actually had a decent career outside of making Bonds. Is obviously, we'll come on to speak about obviously his 2 stints at Bond as Sam Mendes.
Yeah, which everybody thought he was going to flop. Everybody thought Mendes, because he was just a prestige director who was just not going to get it. But that. I will not say whether I agree or disagree with it, but I will. No. I will hold my peace until Skyfall. I definitely have a lot to say about it, but it's we'll get there when we get there. To honor Majesty's Secret Service, which absolutely deserves our full attention. I'm sorry for doing an aside, but it is.
This is like one of even if you're not interested in any other Bond film. Even if you never see this film, but I can think of no higher accolade than see this film, because it is even as a piece of action cinema, as a single film rather than part of a series, it is French. It is French. Yeah, French chef kiss. It is the it is that good.
Absolutely, it's like the one you need to see. I will not say whether it's my favorite, but it is the one you need to see.
It is with some intrepidation that tomorrow we will be going back to Sean Connery's last official stint as James Bond in Diamonds Are Forever. See you tomorrow.